Hello everyone and welcome to Nerd Archives. I'm your host, the Nerd Archivist, and today we are going to have a very special Halloween treat for you. I figured, I'm hoping this would make it on the air on time. I know it will. It shall. Uh, so I figured, just for laughs and giggles and for fun, to celebrate the mood of October, on one of the most momentous, favorite holidays of every year. Why not? I didn't want to just have it leave off onto Horrified. I thought it'd be a little too anticlimactic. So I'm doing this for all of y'all. And I figured why not? So we have here today another Ravensburger game, a licensed game called Alien Fate of the Nostromo. And I have to say, it was great today of this video, rewatching this movie all over again. So a little brief history on the movie. Uh, Alien came out in the year of 1979. Was just literally 1 year after 1978 Superman, that had the late Christopher Reeve, still one of the most loved portrayers of the Man of Steel from yesteryear. This was before Henry Cavill and anything like that that were other respective Supermen, but this was like the OG for many of those that had grown up with that version of Superman. So 1 year later, 79, came this movie that changed the broad spectrum of science fiction and horror forever. Like, it punched more harder than Doctor Who, than Star Trek and stuff, that at the time, before things had improved later, of course, things were still taking the rubber monster approach. This was basically the equivalent of what George A. Romero did back in the 60s with the zombie thriller flick of Night of the Living Dead. Nobody expected this film to come out like right side and just knock them in their heads and out of their senses to what they were used to. Like, so movies back then that were kind of B-rated, that were very narmy and stuff, were I give them a nickname, popcorn flicks. They're time wasters. They're films that you can just talk over a little bit and just hang with your friends. It was nothing really all too interesting and serious. You see the rubber monsters come up, and it just looks more affable than legitimately frightening and such. No. Not with Night of the Living Dead, and definitely, history repeating, not with Alien. So, when Alien came out in theaters in 1979, it changed everything people knew. To actually even make reference, the late Roger Ebert, one of the many critics, basically a YouTuber critic of his own right before YouTube was even a thing. He had his own program with a co-host and everything. Did a coverage on the movie and saw with his own eyes in one of the theaters when it was still running in the early days, when it was new, many people and kids literally crying and were mortified at what they were seeing for the first time. They were just shocked at the abysmal just guise and threat and horror. It was just way beyond anything that they were used to. So 1979, Alien was headed and filmed by Ridley Scott. And monster creature costume design and effects was H.R. Geiger, who brought something unique and visceral onto the screen. It was a creature that meshed between organic and almost mechanical nature. There was tubes, there were spines and tail, and nothing but teeth, sharp teeth and claws. It was something that, again, nobody expected at the time. So 20th Century Fox distributed this movie, and like with anything, at first it was made on whatever budget was given at the time. It was one of those gambled roles. and with a lot of behind the scenes aid, like from James Cameron, who would head Aliens, basically the second film to this film, um, and having a great cast of actors and such, it just became a timeless story. So the aforementioned Aliens usually overshadows this, but I'm one of those diehards that love the first because of the atmosphere and what it delivers. I will admit, Aliens is a step up. It's basically the Terminator 2 to Terminator. That again, irony is Mr. James Cameron had done that. He had done Terminator 1, and Terminator 2 became the most well-loved sequel movies to show that, yes, it is possible to overshadow its older brother when it comes to making a good story. So Alien had that same effect, ironically. Alien and then Aliens. But I always have a big heart for the first movies, because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be the better sequels and such, and there wouldn't be a bigger universe, and there wouldn't be much of a franchise. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I love. And watching it earlier today on streaming on Hulu at the moment was a blast from the past. And there were a lot of things I had never even noticed before. So it had been years since I've last seen it, and made me chuckle on a lot of stuff that I vaguely even remember. So I'm going to share with you, though, something that is a bit similar, but in a board game, of course, a licensed product of many licensed things from this franchise. So we have here Alien: Fate of the Nostromo, and already off the bat, you could see they have used one of my favorite vintage style movie posters with the inclusion of Fate of Nostromo here, and one of my favorite movie quotes, in space, no one can hear you scream. That still reverberates to me today as a fan. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of the art. I really do love the art in this. So just like Horrified, there is a lot of eye candy in this. I apologize for the state of the box. Like, you can see how the box has been damaged. So I got this copy probably for maybe $20, $21. I really can't remember how much. It was around between maybe $20, $18 or so. The seller said this was like new, but kind of didn't mention the damage of the box, and was kind of half-heartedly true. But in the end of the day, though, I'm really, as per usual, it's like a beaten up book. As long as the pages are intact, I'm happy with the product. I really am. Like, me and Katie just played a little bit, and I don't know what Katie thought earlier. She didn't look I don't know if she kind of had that little minor unimpressed look, but once we start getting into it, she admitted later that it was a lot more than she realized. So, and I'm glad that this kind of proved to her that the old-fashioned what was the old-fashioned quote? To never judge a book by its cover. Well, she found out that the pages inside were well worth the read. So, that was a real kicker for me, and that made me smile and laugh in my heart. So, it was an awesome thing. We had fun. We lost, by the way, but who knows? Very soon we will be playing a Let's Play for y'all, and the setup and stuff like we did with Horrified. So if you have your own copies, maybe you're missing your manual and such, we can show you real quick. It's a very quick, it's time consuming per se with the default setup, but it's not too bad once you start putting it together. So, as you already see, you can see the default art. Basically, the movie poster come alive again. On the side, we have Jonesy, the cat, right here. And I love that the illustrations look exactly like they were lifted right off the screen. You can tell these are hand painted, just like Horrified. Here we have the foreboding xenomorph egg opening. It's glowing eerily, and you could tell that something very vile is in it, wanting to come out. portions of the Nostromo right here, and the titular xenomorph right here, hissing and at the ready to cause havoc. Then we got the back of the box with the wording as to be read: incoming transmission, a perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. An alien stalks the corridors of the commercial starship Nostromo, hunting you and your crewmates. Work together to move through the ship, gather supplies, and craft items to survive. Proceed carefully. The alien could be just around the corner, and remember, in space, no one can hear you scream. Choose from 5 missions. It gives you the contents, the age, and one of the many Easter eggs. Instead of players, we have crew 1 to 5. So players 1 to 5. The typical time between 45 to an hour, 60 minutes of gameplay. And it came out back in 2021. You could also play optionally for a harder challenge with the Science Officer Ash for a more challenging game. And then you have the pictures of the figures, including the xenomorph in the background. Survive as the crew of the CSS Nostromo. And there's actually a lot more to this than actually meets the eye. So, for something that came out for a pretty good hefty price at Target, well, that's where at least I saw the copies for a while, and then they just over time disappeared. So we're greeted classically to like the same jump scare in the movie. As soon as you open the box, Jonesy is hissing at the unfortunate soul's face. And here's something even cooler. So instead of opening the board from the front, if you open it completely on the back, get this open. It's very hard to see because it's very dark. But if you look right here, you could see the deck of the portions of the hulls of Nostromo in darkness, and something leering in the center, hissing behind Jonesy. And then, of course, to the lower left, you'll see the Ravensburger and 20th Century logo and stuff, saying, "Yeah, we own this property. Don't have any bright ideas, pal," type of situation. And you got from here the board game set up to the exact specifications of the Nostromo, from the main deck to the sub deck, and all of the designs. The only thing I don't remember from the movie was this was probably maybe added in or something, just to kind of give placement. Is if you look on the lower right, there's this. You have what's called the nest, and for all intents and purposes, I never recollected that from the movie, except from where they dropped off onto the moon and such. Found the supposed signal that was originally thought to be a distress, and then it was unveiled that it was a warning. So that really, again, remembering the movie from hours ago is a blast from the past. An expedition team of 7 people with 1 cat going on basically a simple voyage adventure carrying 20 million, I think, just pounds worth of material back into to what was supposed to be home, only for things to go awry. Again, a classic movie to still test the powers of time. The manual even has Easter eggs, like we have here, if you've watched the movie, Executive Officer Kane. If you remember Mr. Kane ended up having the chestburster come out of him at one point. And you could see deceased, the only one deceased on the front of his listing. Then you got Commanding Officer Arthur Dallas, the captain. He's active. Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley, active. Chief Engineer Dennis Parker, active. Engineering Technician Samuel Brett, active. Navigation Officer Joan Lambert, active. And then Science Officer Ash, unknown. So even from just looking at the manual, it drips with some very cool Easter eggs to the movie for anyone that's a big fan of this first film. Um, and it's read situation critical report issued by Dallas Arthur. Quote, an alien is stalking us on board the Nostomo, and Executive Officer Kane is dead. The remaining crew and I are working together to patch the ship and do what we can to survive. I don't know if we'll make it. The alien is big, fast, and deadly, and could be waiting just beyond the next hatch. That really sets up the tone like the film. So, again, and just a little quick flip through of the manual. Again, it will be covered on how to play very soon. Just little flips in here, a little extra mode, and then you got the credits of the game designer, developer, etc., and etc. on the back. End of transmission, right here it says. So now from that you have very well detailed character cards of the characters. Like, my mind was double taking, like, watching the movie with a very young Sigourney Weaver and such was very surreal. Like, this looks exactly like she was way back, respectfully, in 1979. And you have the rank, special ability, current deployment, things like that. And on the back, they're kind of like, I guess, files or IDs. Wayland Yutani, certified for deployment. So that adds a lot more, again, Easter egg or fan fuel to it. And just because, you know, here's Joan Lambert, Samson Brett, Dallas Arthur, or Arthur Dallas, and Dennis Parker. All respectfully, very detailed, hand-painted to the respective portrayers. Like, they've never aged at all, and they never aged a day. It's very cool and touching. You have here the final mission cards. So, very well detailed, like escaped on the Narcissus. It's the little ship that Ellen Ripley jumps in before detonating the Nostromo in the film. You have my sympathies, a very smug quote from a nearly decapitated, basically medical officer Ash, but just before Dennis Parker winds up, you know, immolating him on fire. Blow it out into space. Though we don't see that in the movie. That does technically happen with Ellen during the finale, where she jettisons it out into, well, the deep cold vacuum of space. If I remember vaguely, this might, I don't know, I'm getting these pangs to where, and I could be corrected, I'm getting these vibes from Alien Isolation, because there was a DLC that was similar like that, where there was like a mission or part that they tried to do that. But, you know, you could correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a long time. And maybe a game I would like to actually explore with y'all too. Excuse me. We're going to blow up the ship. Except, Dennis Parker was alive, and then you got the last lone heroine, Ellen Ripley, trying to survive the last couple of minutes before the Nostromo went up. Cut off every bulkhead and every vent. Everyone is together, trying to hunt down the xenomorph. And that is it. All these beautifully detailed cards. I won't be taking these out per se yet, but kind of a little quick glimpse. Baggies, you got the hatch doors with all the stuff that's underneath them. Items that are very pivotal to your gameplay. The electric prod, motion tracker, little things like that. that again you will see in the next video coming up after this. A lot of these scrap parts, a bunch of gears, a bunch of cylinders, things like that. The only one I will take out are the miniatures, because just like Horrified, I figured I'd treat y'all to some more cool design and little eye candy. You got the self-destruct basically panel. I'll try and show y'all real quick if I can without taking it too much out of the bag. So there's that familiar the cylinders and such that Ellen Ripley uses to set up the eventual explosion to the Nostromo. There they are, preset. And a lot of these cards, I have to say, are also pretty good. Again, Ravensburger always knows how to give good, very good design and recreational artistic paintings and such, and illustrated designs. One of the big reasons why I'm a big fan of their games, like Alien Lost the Signal, exactly how Dallas felt, where he had to tell this heart. Basically, it was he was told that the alien was lost off of there for a minute before making a surprise jump scare. A very cool alien hunt, one of the few alien hunt cards that shows very artistic design of the xenomorph. And then you got cards like, where is it? Like one of the Quiets, where sometimes you'll see like vague silhouettes, the spine tip tail of the xenomorph going around. So the game really captures the mood of the movie perfectly. In fact, I have to say respectfully, this is as close to a tabletop version of Alien Isolation I've ever felt. It actually, think about it. Anyone out there that has played Alien Isolation knows what I'm talking about. Because it's the same thing. It's a survival horror game. You have to find scrap parts, you get weapons, you make weapons, you have to arm yourself, and facing off against the xenomorph is suicide. The only difference in this game, though, is that the instead of the crew having hit points, the closest we have is the crew morale. That if it drops to crew lost, it's implied that they didn't make it at all and have been killed off screen. So it's as closest, in my opinion, in the mood to Alien Isolation on table as you can get for your friends and family. You also have objective cards that are well detailed. Let me see. Oh yeah, a little close up of the backside of the encounters. The xenomorph tail with the spine. Got objectives with the emblem of Mother on there. And on the other side you have like, where is it? The scene in the movie where the facehugger fell off, and let me rephrase that. The scene where I forgot his name for a minute. Executive Officer Kane wound up with the parasitic facehugger over his face, and then the little small jump scare where the facehugger was pretty much that. It just fell from the roof, scared the hell out of poor Ellen Ripley, and then there was like the focus on the very nausea-inducing looking nasty parts of the facehugger, what made it operate and all that. Shouldn't have landed on this ball where it shows Mr. Dennis Parker getting to be in a let's get dangerous type of mood, where he was one of the few last members left. Joan Lambert before their inevitable end. Encounter the nest. You see the creepy H.R. Geiger inspired atmosphere and such when they landed on the moon and things like that. So, yeah, all these are the objective cards. One more time at the back here. And, they're very well detailed. And you got your standees here of the very creepy looking xenomorph to keep track of the crew morale, and the optional challenge mode of the science medical officer Ash. One thing I loved about this was that you really don't see in a movie, but it kind of falls into other parts of Alien canon. The creepy silhouette, like this shows shadow covering his face except for his yellow eyes, and it kind of adds that robotic, otherworldly, like warning signs that something's not right with this officer. And of course, if you've seen the movie, yeah, it turns out to be true. Ash was basically a sleeper agent put on amongst the crew by Weyland Yutani to make sure that they bring back an alien specimen and everyone dies. It was a really heavy hitting scene, and seeing how Ellen is understandably pissed by that portrayal. So yeah, again, it was so fun watching that movie again. I really recommend it to anyone that is a big Alien lover. Go watch the first one. It's a classic. We got detailed minifigures of of one Mr. Parker, who understandably looks very anxious. I'm hoping that y'all can see it. So we got Parker. We got Lambert. It's very hard. I apologize if I'm not messing it up. It's very tricky to be on this far side of the camera, so we got Brett. Calm Brett till he got jumped at the last minute and torn apart by the xenomorph. We got one Captain Dallas, who didn't quite make it. Died in the vents. And legendary heroine badass Ellen Ripley, who became a bane to many of xenomorphs from then on. And finally, the antagonist itself, a very well detailed xenomorph. Or I guess it's supposed to be the drone. This was so the movie was made before, like, we saw a little touch of the alien life cycle. We got the egg, the face hugger, the chest burster, and then of course adult. A little more of the eye candy for y'all before I take them away. Like, you could see the details of the spines. And if I remember correctly, one of the unique things about this movie version of the first Alien was that H.R. Geiger designed the elongated head of the xenomorph pretty much with human-like attributes, the human skull and such, that made it a lot more surreal and a lot more threatening. So, again, well worth looking into if y'all have a chance, especially considering very soon it's going to be Halloween. So, it's science fiction. It's not typical slasher or supernatural, but give that movie a shot. I will say you won't be disappointed. So there y'all have it. It was a little quick show and tell here of the basically the components of the game. Now, I'm not going to be playing this yet. That, as I promised, is going to be the next video. But I will show you real quick the basic little setup. So it's just me putting all the stuff together, and if you happen to have a copy, like maybe you forgot your manual, maybe you don't feel like grabbing a copy yet on PDF, whatever have you. This is just a very quick little visual guide and idea of how to set it up, and it's a very straightforward game. It's literally like Horrified, except they dumbed it down even more. It sounds bad how I'm putting it, but believe me, it's not. It actually is a very tense game, as I've proven to my editor, Katie, respectfully. I don't know, like I said, I kind of felt like she wasn't impressed yet until we started getting the ball rolling, and then she got into it, and then it became life or death for us. We were only two players, or two crewmates, I'm sorry. And again, we got pretty close to actually beating the alien, but fate did not have that in mind. It was very cool. I was very proud that we got that far, considering we had to dance around this damn evil thing. So obviously one of the first things is, obviously the alien starts off lower right in the nest. Very self-explanatory right there, right? These are usually shuffled beforehand, the encounters. You set that to the side. Depending on how many players are playing, or your crewmates, it all is listed right in front of you. Like, for instance, if you have a bigger group of 4 to 5 players, you would set the xenomorph counter. Let's see, this part right here that I showed you very briefly in the baggie. The one going, yeah, that's a handsome little bugger. You can put them like here. But if you have less of a party, like maybe it's just you by yourself, maybe 2 players, like with me in Katie's case, or if you happen to have one more person before 3, you put it right here. So that basically is very vital. At first, it doesn't look vital. It's just like Horrified, but when the dice goes down, it becomes very, very hectic. You basically choose your characters. You look over your reference sheets to your characters, where they all have different special abilities that will complement each other, like exactly like Horrified. I know this is the 100th time, but notice the action points from the last game and such. From what was the Prospero Hall? Prospero Hall had that, and that's one thing that kind of bugged me inside, was that, I don't know, it felt like Ravensburger kind of, I don't want to say steal, that's a very ugly word, but it felt like they lifted that same system off from the Prospero Hall team and kind of made it their own. And I mean, it works. I mean, it's because of them contributing so much of the game. It's become one of those very nice easing into strategy games where it's more action focused, and all you gotta do is keep track of what you all do, and then it goes to another turn in sequence. So you got, for instance, the lowest action points is Mr. Samson Brett. Everyone else has a 4 action here for Joan Lambert, Ellen Ripley, Mr. Dennis Parker, and then finally the highest, that has no special ability, but has the highest action points, Mr. Captain Arthur Dallas. So you pick, whatever characters you'll want. Like, for instance, I'm going to be him. Katie's going to be Parker Dennis. That guy over there around the corner, Ellen Ripley. They all get their sheets together. You get your matching figures. So we get, let's see here, Dallas, Parker, and then Ellen Ripley. And everybody else that hasn't been picked, they go back to the box. And it all starts here in the galley, right here. Kind of like in the movie. Everybody's eating, everybody's relaxing, they're having a smoke, they're having a breakfast. All's good in the world. Well, up until this point, as you can tell, with the xenomorph haunting the grounds. And also, depending on how many players, so, let me see if I remember. If you have less players, there's only 2 for solo mode, there's only two basically final missions you can pick. You can either, let me see, pick Escape on the Narcissus, and of course if you want harder mode, you have Medical Science Officer Ash, so that one is kind of optional, so that's left to the side. I think blow it out into space and cut off every bulkhead. Yeah, that's about right. These two, or if you have about three or more two or more players, but if you're playing solo, these three, or that's if you want to add hard mode with Ash. These are the only three you could play, but again, for a regular 2 to 5 party team, you have these. You shuffle them up. You pick a random card. You put it up here, and onto the side. Depending on how many players are present, you also get many of the objectives. So, good example here. We have only a 3-player team, so we go like this, and then you add always one more extra this. So that would be 4 objectives plus the final mission. Then of course you got your items have to be set up. Let me see. This is the part where I actually need the manual for a second, because you start off with these. Let me see. Coolant canisters. Stuff that is laid to the side are the cat carriers, the motion trackers, flashlights, grapple guns, incinerators, and your electrical prods are all laid out to the side for everyone to reach and access, because those are very vital. You got your hatches that are also very important for the experience of suspense. So you want to take your hatch tiles, this little tower of doom and fear. You shuffle them basically by hand a couple of times, and then you start putting them out. And there's, I think, 3 places that you put them out into. I think equipment storage. Everything starts off at the bottom. Equipment storage, the maintenance, and I believe the garage, is if I remember correctly. Just double check to make sure, because again, I played this just a little bit ago, so it's still a bit fresh on my mind. Okay, workshop. Those are the only few that you start off with right there. Okay, in your coolant canisters, go to the workshop, equipment storage. Let me see. I think, if I remember, mother. I think the bridge. No, maintenance bay, garage. Okay. So I got some of them by memory. And hypersleep. There's one in hypersleep. So up here. And then the scrap parts that you use for your game to help. It's basically this game's version of cash. If you have it, you can use it to create and craft, and then you would have items to have on your person. That, if you notice on your character sheets, have slots, and there's always one for coolant. but it can only carry one coolant at a time. So let me see here. The scrap. Place 2 scrap tokens at each location. So 1 in Mother, 1 in the garage. So you take each 2 pieces. Garage, Mother, Med Bay, and Maintenance Bay. Med Bay right here. And maintenance right here. So those are all those little spots right here, the 4 spots, and then the rest goes onto the side where everybody's going to reach them. And that should be it. As I stated before, your encounter cards will be shuffled. The chosen objectives will be at the very top of the board, along with the final mission at the very far side. That's never revealed until you get to that point. And finally, of course, you and your friends get complimentary 2-sided reference cards that help give you friendly reminders and without having to use the manual each time. So there y'all go. So like so, and then everybody would begin their game, and there you go. Nothing very much to explain yet until everyone starts playing. And real quick for the mechanics and stuff. Again, one more time, exactly like Horrified. So to start off, whoever's the eldest of the group, whoever wins at rock, paper, scissors, I don't care. Whoever does what to begin the game rolling, one person uses their character, and they have a certain amount of points they have in their pool that's indicated on their files. Like for instance, I'm going to have Mr. Dennis Parker go first. So as you see on your on the reference sheet, one more time, these are the actions you can do. You move, you pick up or drop, use or craft, or trade. So I'm going to have Mr. Parker, for instance, decide to go towards Med Bay. And he would have to stop there because, you know, that's just the way it is. Then after every player's action is done, the encounters card gets drawn, and then you follow the instructions, and this is what you get to basically dissect. So you'll see this 4-way arrow, and the number is how many moves the xenomorph moves. The hideous hissing fangs on the right side is how much morale you lose. So this is just an example. Like for instance, if this xenomorph happens to be right here next to Mr. Dennis Parker and moves up 1, Dennis Parker would have the Shinola scared out of him and would take 2 loss of the crew morale. This will keep going until it hits the horrible inevitable end. And after he gets scared the bejesus out of, you have to move 3 spaces away in any direction away from the xenomorph. So, for instance, he just got spooked, so he's going to run down the stairs. So, 1, 2, and then 3 right here. So now he's inside. And if you happen to come across any areas with these little hidden hatches, it's a must, unless, of course, you just spawned in the same room with them, where you don't have to activate them. If you've just entered another zone or an area, you activate it, then you hold your breath and pray to God that the damn thing doesn't hunt you there, or something worse. And after it's revealed, you put it in the tile thing, shuffle it, and all that stuff. And then the last things, of course, after that is these symbols. So these are how many, this tells you the location of where these are going to spawn. So you got the airlock. Let's see, the airlock is right over to here. So you take one hatch tile, the one on the right here, and obviously the two gears are your scrap that spawn in the same room. And then you put the card on the side on this card pile, and it keeps going until a specific card tells you to either a shuffle, or if there's if there's a order card, I think it's called 297. I think. Let me check real quick. No, sorry, correction. Order 937. When those pop up, usually you either the certain ones that say an individual or the whole team would lose some certain amount of scrap, or there's one that says this and basically to reshuffle it back into the pool and so on and so forth. So again, it's a very straightforward game, and as simple sounding as it sounds, it's pretty scary actually. Again, everything starts off nice and smooth. It's actually just like the movie. Everybody thought it was just going to be smooth sailing and such, and it just goes all to hell. But yeah. You also have, whenever you later spend your hard-earned scrap, unless certain cards command you to drop them or to lose one or two or so, you would basically use an action point to make or use a craft. One character, though, I believe his name is Brent, who has the lowest action points, actually has a special ability to where he has basically a discount where anything that costs two or above is discounted by one scrap. For instance, the incinerator, that's usually the hard, heavy-hitting 4, is 3. And another cool thing is when you use a special ability, he can automatically craft it without spending any more points. So for a guy that has less action points, he may feel like he is a hard character to use, but he is one of the greatest helpers, though, or go-to guy to make your items and give it to you like in a heartbeat. So that's something to really think about right there. So again, it's a back and forth until the inevitable end, where either you do the final mission, or the crew or morale is quietly killed off, or if you're playing the final mission with the self-destruct sequence, you may not make it off the Nostomo on time, and everyone explodes and dies. So two ways to... It's just like Horrified. I know. It's Horrified one more time. There's 2 losses, but only one way to win. Exactly like that game. Just with, 20th Century Fox attire and xenomorphs involved here in this one. But I love this game. So that gives me to where I have to say, after private playthroughs of playing this game, what do I think? I think that it is a nice average change to Horrified. It's exactly like Horrified, except it really makes you feel like you're in a survival horror movie. If you watch the first movie, everyone starts dying horrifically like flies to this ravenous extraterrestrial creature here. You get that same... in fact, as I mentioned before, this is going to sound corny and stupid, but I think this is like the closest you ever can get to a tabletop adaptation of Alien Isolation. It really has that mood. The only things is you won't be fighting other survivors, you won't be fighting other androids, except for Mr. What was his name again? No, I forgot his name. Mr. Ash. Mr. Science Officer Ash, the only closest thing to the android in that spirit of things. So, besides all that extra fluff, it's the closest that I ever felt to actually playing the game on the tabletop with real players and stuff, and in a movie, no less. So it does capture that mood and atmosphere real well, where it feels exactly like a survival horror story. And there's only one way to win, and a couple of ways to lose, so it's really an actual fight to win, and I love it. So it's something that I have to say, look forward. Um, Try and find a good deal, like at least $20 to $25 tops. Hell, even cheaper than that. Like I said, I got this copy for maybe between $20 or maybe $18 tops. I think everything completed. The box was lightly damaged, but all the components, believe it or not, were still sealed and were unpunched at the time. So again, I can't gripe about the quality of the box itself. I'm happy with what was in it, and as you can tell, I really want y'all to share in this survival horror game. Try and find a copy, and as I stated before, this setup is for those that might have a little copy and are looking and maybe might have misplaced their manual, but it's a very straightforward game. It really is. A lot of things are very self-explanatory. So, exactly like Horrified, but alien themed. And yeah, there's actually no more to actually dissect about this one, except for a video on the next episode for y'all that me and Katie, or even me, I don't know. I haven't really asked her how she wanted to play again. I don't mind doing a solo mode. It's exactly just like playing with others. The only difference, though, is, it's just going to be me. So, there's that. Well, I thank y'all for coming by with this video. And again, the next one is coming out very soon to actually show you the gameplay and to really seal it in on how everything actually thoroughly works, besides just mechanical explanation. I really do love playing for y'all to really show y'all the atmosphere and what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling. And again, it's a great joy to actually be doing this for y'all on the channel. And as if anyone bothers reading the channel page, my reviews are very biased and fair. They're straightforward and straight to the quilt, as well thought of and well explained as I can muster. So, for any of you that have just discovered this channel, as per usual, it's very annoying for me to say that, and it's just a friendly reminder. Just hit that subscribe button. It really, really shows the love and support for this channel, and help me keep it growing and going full steam ahead. Hit those likes too to really show that you really do enjoy this, and leave comments. For instance, like I said, as corny as it sounds, I really love to read comments. I want to, maybe you've played this at your cousin's house. Maybe you came across this in a thrift shop and, have just as great an experience as I did when I bought mine from eBay. It's always fascinating reads to me, and I love to hear from y'all. So again, thank y'all so very much for coming on to here. As I promised, there's going to be a follow-up very soon. And I hope y'all have a safe Halloween. And be sure to watch those scary movies for me. There will be an eventuality where things will actually be covered upon. But until then, I bid you a fair adieu. Bye-bye.